And with that said, Doc, we all know that you've called an abundance of hockey games, other sports as well, granted, but predominantly hockey throughout your career. You've traveled across the United States, Canada, calling Olympic events as well. I'm just curious to know, out of all the places you've been for work, where was your favorite location of them all? And maybe was it even an outdoor event that you really cherished? I'm curious to know what that favorite event was.
Indoors, it was right down the street from you guys. And it wasn't the new place, it was the old place. There was
Yes.
something about the Forum when they opened the doors before an evening game, and the standing room people would go screaming and running to their places, that you knew that was just the beginning of the electricity of a game. Chicago Stadium was wonderful. Boston Garden was too. And Detroit's Olympia was pretty special, but there was no place in my mind like the Forum in Montreal. Part of it was the electric atmosphere. Part of it was how crazy the fans were in terms of their energy. And part of it was the glorious teams that played there during the time I was broadcasting games there. But there was something about it that made it more special than any other place to me. Bell Center couldn't replicate that, just like United Center in Chicago and TD Garden in Boston can't replicate, in my mind, the old places.
Just listening to you describe all of that, just having all these images go through my mind. I wasn't even there, and I'm just picturing it. And you ever heard of those people who kind of fanboy over meeting their idols and heroes and stuff like that? For this weird, I kind of feel that right now listening to you, Doc Emrick. Let me get to my next question. I just want to take you back 50 years ago. You were talking about those old days where you got to see Ken Dryden as a rookie. What were some of those memories? What were some of those other memories you have from that time working with the Beaver County Times in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania?
Well, it was the fall of 1970. I went to my very first press day for the Penguins, and the first player I interviewed was Les Binkley, a goaltender. And the first question I asked him was, how's it going with the mask? He had never worn one before, and he was experimenting with a face mask. Keep in mind that Jacques Plante had a decade before first worn one, and then eventually became a regular wearer of a face mask. But my goodness, do I have the right date on Jacques Plante? I thought it was 59, but maybe it was 69. I don't know. But anyway, he was talking about that, and then Brian Hextall was the second player that I interviewed, and the Bruins had just won the Stanley Cup, and Boston Garden was an awful place to try to win a game, and I asked him to characterize what it was like to play in Boston, and he said, we were standing on the blue line waiting for the anthem to play, and they were making a presentation to Bobby Orr, and so we were waiting for that, and just before the anthem was to start, over my shoulder comes a lock that's as big as one you'd put on a garage door. And it barely missed me, and it hit the ice, and it cracked the ice through to the concrete. That's what I remember about playing in Boston Garden. So those are my first two interviews that I did at press day. And as the year went on, I realized what a rivalry that Pittsburgh had with the St. Louis Blues. And they used to fight with them all the time back when bench clears were actually legal. And it was never dull. And that was the harbinger of what my next 50 years would be like. It would never be dull. It would always be fun. And I encourage people, even younger than yourselves, who are just wanting to get into this, because you guys are already, to give it your all and don't quit, because you get in free. You get a good seat for the game. You get to work with some of the finest people in the world, the athletes that play the sport. And then twice a month, you get something pretty good, either direct deposited or in the mail. It's great.